Devin Green, it is you have been a part of the coding and involved with computers, I believe, since the age of 13, probably even younger. Can you please tell me what was it that initiated that spark?
Yeah, so when I was around that age, I saw the movie Iron Man for the first time.
Mhm.
My dad took me to see the movie Avengers in theaters. It was coming out around then, a little bit earlier. And I was just like absolutely in awe with just the amount of technology, both shown in like the Avengers and then later in the movie Iron Man. I absolutely loved it. Um, Jarvis was a really big like cool thing that I wanted to just be able to make myself and like have my own version of. That
Mhm.
was kind of my initial inspiration to get started with coding, was to figure out a way to make my own version of Jarvis. Um, I knew just initially like I wouldn't be able to just go ahead and just jump right into making something as complicated as that.
Right.
So I took a step back and kind of reevaluated like how can I kind of get into this like kind of realm of computer science and coding. And I just looked at the little iPod Touch I was watching the movie Iron Man on, and I was like, how about I go ahead and just start making an app and let's go from there and let's see what I can do for that.
So, what was the process like? Because we all can come up with ideas, but when you're actually there trying to initiate your plan, how were those
Right.
first steps and what made you continue?
Yeah. Um, for me, at least, what made my like first step successful, at least, was
Mhm.
I had no idea what to turn to. I mean, my neither of my parents have any experience with this kind of stuff. My sister, who's younger than me, doesn't have any experience with this kind of stuff either. I was like, let me just Google this real quick. Let me see what I can
Mhm.
find on the internet. If there's any information that people can give me, or if there's a source that has kind of more information on what I can do. Um, I don't remember this off like exactly what I found right away, but
Right.
I know I stumbled across Apple had books on the programming languages used to make iOS apps. I know my Google searches immediately popped up different videos with tutorials of people like kind of walking you through, okay, this is the software you need to download Xcode. This is how you get a project set up. This is how you write your first line of code. And those kind of sequential steps of me like saying, okay, I can do that. I can do this. I can do this. Okay, kind of built my confidence up enough to where I could kind of advance to much like larger steps from there. It was just really nice that there were so many resources available for me to kind of just explore that were just a Google search away that made this process really easy.
Right. So I've tried coding. It did not work for me. Um, I'm like, I wish I could had the confidence you have. What keeps up that confidence? Is it something that keeps constantly inspiring you to keep trying and to make it harder for on yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. For me, at least, it really is. There's this kind of magic behind it that I
Mhm.
found that with fields like computer science and like technology and stuff, when you really get like what you were trying to do to work, like
Mhm.
that's the end goal, right? You're trying to get it to work. It just really feels like, wow, I really went from point A to point B, and I'm doing things that like look quite nearly indistinguishable from magic through a computer right now.
Mhm.
So the fact that there is an end goal, like for me, the end goal was always to get to a point with these smaller steps that I can get towards Jarvis. And every kind of win from there felt like a step closer to that goal.
Mhm.
And then, of course, a small victory on its own part just made the journey like that much easier to keep myself motivated. Was that I knew what I was kind of aiming towards. And no matter how much I struggled in some of these smaller steps, that once I got to a point where I won that kind of smaller piece, I was like, man, now I can move forward and take that step forward into the much larger journey as well.
Right. And your journey has kind of led you to slight work. So can you talk
Yes,
about slight work?
most definitely. Yeah. So Slight Work was an application I first started developing in high school.
Mhm.
Um, it was really aimed around helping me and my classmates kind of just stay really focused on our homework.
Mhm.
It was junior year at the time, and we were all finding it really difficult to keep track of all the stuff we'd have to get done during a day. We'd all show up into class like, oh my gosh, we have a test. Did anybody else know that we had an essay due today in English?
Mhm.
Things like that. Like we were running into those kind of problems all the time. It was really hard for us to, with just the rise of social media in general, like people our age have trouble staying concentrated on one thing at a time, especially when it's something like homework that we don't want to do.
Right.
So the goal was to kind of make it easier to prioritize which assignments to do first. So I developed like a ranking system based on emojis. like how much do you like this class, how difficult do you think this workload is, and from there it kind of can develop a homework kind of study plan for you and say like, okay, you should knock this assignment out first. It's from a class you don't really like, but it seems to be a assignment we should get out of the way first, and then we can go ahead and get into some easier stuff from here. Right.
Mm,
So it also made use of like the Pomodoro timer. I don't know if you know that method where it's about like it varies, of course, for how much time each interval is, but I like to
right.
do 15 minutes working on something, a little 5-minute break, 15 minutes working on something, 5-minute break for about 3 times, and then I'll take like a longer 10-minute break at the end right there.
Right.
It has that kind of built into the system where you can activate that. So your brain is kind of focused on your homework for these short spurts. You get the breaks you need, you can get back to it. You're still on that homework planning list. That was kind of the idea behind it. I got a lot of really great feedback when I released it. People were loving it. And that was the goal. And I feel like I actually met the goal there with that application, which was super nice.
Now, I know that you kind of used that application during the pandemic. How helpful has that been to not just you, but to others as well?
Yeah, it's been really great. My classmates still talk about it to this day, how they still like use that app and stuff like that.
Mhm.
My sister was actually just texting me this morning about the application, how much her friends were loving it for this group project that they're working on. At the time when I was first being released, my high school's principal's son actually told the principal about it, and he
Mhm.
congratulated me and stuff like that. My school superintendent said it looked really nice and stuff like that. So it was just super awesome to see that the application had impacted more than just my circle of friends that like I was considering at the time, like the problem at hand was much larger and had a much better impact than I could have expected.
Right. Now, from then you went on to WWDC. Now, that
Yes.
was like a chat box that helped for anytime you're kind of feeling lonely or you're feeling in them
Right.
isolated moments. Can you shed some more light onto that? And how has that helped you just in general?
Yeah. So the WWDC project,
Mhm.
that was a super fun one. So I found myself alone in my bedroom during kind of the COVID-19 pandemic. The kind of height of it was when this WWDC Swiss Student Challenge was going on. I felt like I had the opportunity to kind of start working on that end goal, like that Jarvis end goal.
Mhm.
And it was also a unique opportunity to have it benefit more than just myself and make something cool that was like just a personal assistant that just did awesome like random things like that of course is awesome, but I had
Mhm.
the chance to really make something that can benefit people in more ways than one, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
um the goal with Stanny was to make kind of this companion through kind of either an application or an interface that you can use that really is just a person to talk to when you don't have anybody to talk to. Like
Right.
I know people were alone during the pandemic and stuff like that. It was really challenging time, and just having somebody to converse with, even if it's they're just trying to predict what you're saying, kind of generate a response from there. I just know that kind of felt good. I felt really successful with that goal. Stanny was made completely in the Swift programming language, which was awesome. I wrote all of the data used to kind of predict different forms of speech and both and the responses as well from scratch. And then I used different styles of neural networks to kind of I messed around with different styles of neural networks to try to figure
Mhm.
out which was the best to this thing called intent recognition. And it was a super nice process, and the end result turned out really well. Made the little robot interface that I demoed the other day. Yeah, it was super nice.
Now, can you talk about Swift Playgrounds? I played around with it as well, and it made me feel smarter. It was really simple tasks, but how has that played a bigger role in you being a computer programmer and designing all of these different apps?
Yeah. So the Swift playgrounds with like kind of the walkthroughs and tutorials,
Mhm.
I truly wish that was developed like I truly wish that was available to me when I was first starting out, because I feel like it
Mhm.
would have made my journey that much easier. What a lot of people don't realize is like the the way you use the commands is a lot similar to the way you were using those in the Swift playground, like kind of tutorial there. It's
Right.
just the commands themselves can get like conceptually more complex. But
Mhm.
I mean, when it comes down to it, you're really just calling lines like move forward, like those kind of simple instructions that kind of contribute to the larger whole is really just what programming is all about. And the Swift Playgrounds does a really great job of kind of guiding you through that process and getting those first lines of code written and doing some really cool things too. I really like the interface with Swift Playgrounds and those Swift Playground books. I feel like it's super conducive to like just getting people started in that realm of coding. And yeah, I truly wish that I had those kind of playground books when I was starting. Swift Playgrounds itself is something I use to this day, though. You can make separate projects away from the books that kind of let you explore with the Swift programming language and make things on your own. So Stanny was made through the Swift Playgrounds kind of feature. You can just go ahead and start coding in Swift, and that's what I was just able to do. I just was able to put my ideas of code just onto the Swift Playground, separate from like an application that needs to run on a phone, and it was really nice to test out and stuff on that interface.
Wonderful. Now I got to see your presentation during the Apple event day, which was just so inspiring watching you and then playing around with what you was doing. My thing is, what does Apple mean to you in your growth as an engineer?
Yeah, Apple means a lot to me in my growth as an engineer. I've been, my family's kind of been like within the Apple ecosystem for as long as I can remember. I remember as a kid kind of playing on my dad's iPhone with a lot of like fun games and stuff when I needed a kind of boredom distraction. He would hand me that sometimes, which was super fun. From there, it's just been a huge part of like my development in the realm of computer science. Like I really started learning to code in order to make apps like this. And Swift was my first like true programming language that I learned. And of course I learned more from there to kind of make more complex things, but it was really my entry point into the realm of computer science. And the benefit I found was that, especially with Swift and with Apple, they have just so many resources available through like the Apple developer website, through there's a lot of books that they've released specifically on Swift programming language. Programming language itself is open source, so you can kind of look at whatever you want to about the language on your own time. Like it's super nice. It's super nice. I found it to be kind of a nice wide open door that I could step through in order to get to where I wanted to be.
Now you're currently at Stanford. How has that been? Congratulations. And the lessons that you've kind of learned in your computer engineering classes and your other classes that you're learning, what has that kind of taught you? Would you say would be the great foundation for your future ahead?
I would say the most important thing, or kind of the best thing that I found, is that while it took me like to kind of teach myself how to code, like it doesn't have to be that way for everybody, and everybody learns at their own speed about computer science and things like that. So one of the first things I wanted to do, like as soon as I was able to, was try and like help people with computer science. So like kind of tutoring in that aspect if people wanted it. Now that I'm finally in a dorm room for the first time, I leave my door open and people ask me questions about computer science assignments all the time. I do the TA program for the introductory computer science courses. So I hold office hours on Thursdays. So it's a lot of fun. I really love kind of helping others get started with the kind of realm of computer science, kind of the magic behind it, and seeing when they see like they're able to do this and that they're able to contribute to the magic as well. It's a really just, it warms my heart and like brightens my day to see people smile over the things that I got excited about as well, or I still get excited about as well. Yeah, it's super nice.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, here's the thing. When I was a kid growing up, I did not see people of color in this field at all. Do you view yourself as one of an inspiration towards others, because we have not seen this kind of representation before? Or do you view you like, I'm just doing my life? I don't really view it as, being a pioneer in anything. How do you view yourself in that?
Yeah, well, I can't remember this quote, and I'm always kind of like summarizing quotes as opposed to actually stating them. But like the ones with those are like the greatest responsibilities are, it's kind of thrust on them type thing. So I don't kind of view myself as trying to pioneer anything in that kind of aspect. But I know that me not seeing a lot of representation in the STEM field, especially in fields like computer science and electrical engineering, which I'm heavily involved in. It kind of makes me almost uncomfortable sometimes with just how there's not a lot of representation there, but the fact that I'm here, I know can make others comfortable. And that's something that I really like kind of try to keep in the back of my mind, that the fact that if I'm uncomfortable in the field trying to kind of explore what it has to offer, I
Mhm.
can really kind of make the field more inclusive for others like me who want to do the exact same things. Like that makes it all worth it in the end. It really just it's a nice feeling to know that going through these experiences and being the one to kind of like help break that kind of barrier can help bring a lot more people in too. So I have a lot of people back home, like me, just African American students who
Mhm.
ask me about computer science all the time, and it's a lot of fun to see them like wanting to explore the exact same areas that I've explored and helping them with that. So it's been really nice.
Do you have any new projects that you're working on that you would like to launch in the future?
There are a few projects I'm working on. I'm always working on improving Stanny. So
Mhm.
like trying to get him up to speed currently. The like I said before, the database I built for Stanny in order for him to understand and kind of respond to different things. I built that from scratch. It's
Mhm.
about 4 times as large as the demo version I had right there now. So
Mm.
it's starting to get up there in size, which is really cool. So Stanny's able to understand a lot more things. I have some cool projects around just problem like everyday problems I run into. I've made this alarm clock, which is kind of a combination of computer science and electrical engineering projects, but it has a pressure sensitive mat that goes under kind of a bed or anything like that.
Mhm.
And when I have trouble waking up in the morning, it actually will refuse to turn off the alarm sound until I've stood off of my bed, gotten up out of my
Oh!
bed. Yeah, and then if I try to get back in the bed, the alarm turns back on. So it's a
Oh,
really nice way to
wow.
like, yeah. So there's a lot of fun projects that I've tried to make around those, just everyday problems that I've run into. I find those to be kind of the best motivators in exploring like different kind of projects is the problems you face every day. So things like that have been a lot of fun to kind of try out.
When looking back, what do you hope your legacy is that you leave on this earth?
I really hope that what I've done, like, or what I will do, I guess, just does not seem too daunting type thing. I don't want. I feel like the stuff I'm doing there, like you can follow it like step by step, and I feel like
Mhm.
anybody can get there. To like, I just really do feel like anybody can get there, and it's only getting easier over time too. Like with Swift playgrounds and things like that, there's just more resources than ever. I don't know if easier is the right word, but there's just more resources than ever, and more people supporting than ever. That I really hope that what I can do is surpassed in the future almost. Like I really hope that while I'm trying to like do as much as I can, that
Mhm.
somebody else comes up next and then can do that just extra step. And then somebody else can go ahead and then like grab their hand and pull them up with as well. So that's kind of like my hope there. Um, yeah, yeah.
And lastly, where can we find the stuff that is available?
So the Apple developer website is a really great resource,
Mhm.
especially for the Swift programming language. There's a lot of amazing tutorials on YouTube. I know organizations like Edrika do a lot of instructional videos on languages like Python.
Mhm.
Swift is the main one I see out there for Apple resources. There's this website that I use all the time called like Hacking with Swift that does a really great job of breaking down specific kind of features you're trying to implement.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, there's websites like Stack Overflow, which is a really great access to the community of developers where you can post questions and things like that and get them answered by people who've gone through similar situations or have kind of what you're looking for. I found that to be just extremely helpful resources. But yeah, it really is just a Google search away. And I find a new website with a new answer just about every day.
Mhm.
It's kind of incredible how many people out there are trying to solve similar problems and yet how open they are to sharing those answers with the rest of the community. It's honestly beautiful. I love it.
I love it. And I love how you're willing to help others and your door is always open. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Of
It has been
course.
an honor. You are amazing and everything you do.
Thank you.
Congratulations and much success to the future.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem at all.